Hello, welcome to my channel and thanks for tuning into this video. Today I'm going to be demonstrating and reviewing the new Sonia G Fusion brush set. And I'm also going to be doing a little sort of mini tutorial on this eye look, which is very similar to the eye look that I wore in my previous video, my Lisa Eldridge comparisons video that I'd had a couple of requests for a tutorial on. So I'm going to be doing basically that eye look, but just using different products. So if you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. Okay, let's get started with foundation. So I'm going to be using this brush, which is the Jumbo Base, the biggest one in the collection for my foundation. And for foundation today, I'm going to be using the Sisley Cushion Foundation. It's the Phyto-Blanc cushion foundation, basically. And I have it in two shades here. These ones are new to me, but I've actually gone through a whole one of these foundations before. It was the first real luxury foundation that I ever bought. I bought it in spring of 2018, I can remember, because I went to Paris that spring to visit my sister, and I had wanted to buy the La Mer Soft Fluid Foundation duty-free at the airport in Paris, but they didn't have my shade, and the woman working there suggested that I try this one, and so I bought it. It's exorbitantly expensive, but it is perhaps the most beautiful looking foundation that I've ever had. So Sisley recently had a buy one of these, get one free of these foundations. So I went for it and I got these two and I love them so much. This time I got shades 1 and 2. Previously I just had shade 2, which is the more sort of cool toned one. But I just wanted to, since I had the opportunity to try two different shades this time, I decided to try shade 1 and shade 2, and shade 1 is much warmer. But I thought that for summer it could be nice, and I think that together these two shades look really nice mixed. Of course, I wouldn't really recommend that anyone buys two of these unless you get that kind of a 2-for-1 deal. I would say if you are closer to my skin tone, shade 2 is definitely better though. So I just pumped them out and mixed the two shades on the back of my hand and working from there. And this brush is making really quick and easy work of applying the foundation, I feel. It's super soft. All of these Sonia G brushes in the new Fusion series, they're a mixture of 2 different types of synthetic fiber and natural goat hair bristles. And so they're really meant to be used with creams and liquid products. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on mainly today. And I really like this for foundation actually, because you can see it's sort of angled up. It's a little bit higher up here. And it also sort of tapers down that way when you look at it head on. And what that does is it just makes it easier to get into those harder to reach places when you're applying your foundation. So like sometimes around the nose, anywhere there are little, crevices and so on under the eyes, if you put your foundation under your eyes, it just makes it really easy to get into those harder to reach places. So I think that's good for the foundation. The foundation is just the most beautiful, natural, glowy, super flattering to the skin foundation, and especially in real life. Usually more matte foundations tend, I think, to look a little bit better on camera, but in real life I really love this, the more sort of glowy type of finish that this foundation gives. So I'm just going in now with my Kosas concealer. And for this, I'm going to start out with this brush, which is the Jumbo Concealer. There are 2 concealer brushes, the Soft and the Jumbo. I'm going to start with the Jumbo, and then I'll probably pick up, I think I'll do half my face with the Jumbo and half with the Soft, just to get a good feel for these I received these brushes yesterday. I used each of them once before I washed them, and then this is my first time now using them washed. So this one they all are quite densely packed. I'd say this one's very densely packed, and it's more of a flat shape. It has a pinched ferrule. I kind of like to do this more dabbing motion with this one. I think that seems to work really well for this shape of brush, rather than doing too much swiping. Okay, now I'm going to take the soft concealer and do the other half. In this one, I think you could do either the dabbing or a bit more of a swirling motion. It has a round ferrule. I think the motion that you choose with your brush also can affect the level of coverage that you get. So I find with the dabbing motion, you get more coverage. And so for this area where I have some healing blemishes, I just put a little bit more concealer on there. I'm gonna just dab it in for a little bit of extra coverage. Okay, I think this base looks really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of powder underneath my eyes and just around my nose, and a little bit on my chin and right here. Those are my typical powder application areas. And then I'll be back and we'll do bronzer, blush, highlight, and my eyes as well. Okay, I've done my light powdering. I used the Chanel Le Beige powder. And now I think I'll go into bronzer. So I want to use cream, bronzer, and contour today. And I want to try out using this brush, which is the classic base. So very sort of rounded, not completely flat top, but pretty flat. And first with my Salt contour shade, and just kind of pat and swipe that into the skin. This brush is really great for this actually because it's so soft and it has that really good density that you can almost feel like you're just sort of softly drawing on the contour product, but it's blending it at the same time. Works great with both that patting motion and with the sort of swirling motion. The fibers are very nice and flexible despite the density of the brush. Okay, so there's the contour on, and now I'm just gonna go into the bronzer shade. That's the light bronze. You kind of pat that right over the contour. All right, so I've got a nice soft bronzing contouring situation going on. And now I'm gonna move into blush. And for blush, I'm gonna be using the mini base. I have a version of this brush already right here. This was included in the Kiyaki set, which came out, I think, over the holidays or for the holidays in 2020. And I've really been loving this brush for my new Lisa Eldridge products. And I'm gonna be using the Lisa Eldridge products again today. Actually, let's do highlighter first. So I'm gonna use the Crystal Nebula highlighter. Just dab that onto the cheeks. And then take the mini base. Just kind of pat it in. I generally prefer to use brushes over my fingers when I'm applying any makeup, really. So I love how the mini base works so easily at just patting that product in really easily and quickly without getting my fingers messy and without really removing any of the product. Just a touch more of that. I'm gonna let that set in, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna get started on the eyes. So I had a couple requests in the comments on my last video, the comparisons, the Lisa Eldridge comparisons video, to do a tutorial on my makeup look and specifically the eye look that I had on in that video. And so I'm going to kind of do that here. In that video, I was wearing the Tom Ford First Frost quad, and I know that you can't get that anymore. So I'm going to use a different quad, which is new, and show you basically the same technique that I used when creating that look. And so instead of using that Tom Ford quad, I'm going to use this new one from Surratt. This is the Surratt X Beautylish quad. And this is my first ever Surratt eyeshadow palette. So I'm quite curious to give it a try. But before I start putting this on, I actually had a base down of cream before. And in the other video, I used a mixture of the Victoria Beckham Cocoa and bronze liners that I just put all over my lid and sort of spread out and then worked on top of that. Today, I'm going to use this by Terry Ombré Blackstar in the shade Rose Elixir, but I think you could really use whatever you wanted as a base. So I'm just putting that on, and then I want to see how the soft concealer brush works on the eye. So I'm just going to kind of blend that out using that brush. And no issues there, it's blending out fine. I think this soft concealer would be appropriate for a one and done shadow or a cream shadow like this, but it's not gonna allow you to do any kind of detail work on the eyes. And it's not really meant for the eyes, so that's okay. I'm also gonna throw this on my lower lash line and inner corner and blend it with the mini booster brush. Okay, next I do want to actually use my Victoria Beckham Cocoa and just drag it all along the top of the lash line, and then take my mini booster and just kind of blend it out there and maybe pull it up a little bit along the outer corner. Okay, I'll come back to the eyes, but now that that highlighter is set down, I'm going to go in with blush. I'm going to use the Lisa Eldridge Venetian Red blush. Just squeezed a little bit out on the back of my hand. And I'm going to go back in with that same mini base brush. Tap it on my finger and then blend it out. You can see this brush makes very quick work of blending the blush as well. Okay, there's the blush all done, and let's get into just finishing up the eyes. And I'm not going to be using the new Sonia G brushes for the eyes, but I will be using probably mostly Sonia G brushes. This is the Classic Crease, and I'm going to go in with this shade right here and just put that all over. With the Tom Ford quad, I used the lighter brown shade in the quad, and I think I used my soft shader brush from Sonia G because it's just better for working with that wet dry formula. But the Classic Crease is perfect for this more traditional powder formula. So that's just gone all over the lid. And then I'm gonna take this one here. This is, I guess, the closest to that pink shade in the First Frost quad. And I'm gonna use my soft shader this time, right into that. And just place this more on the inner half of the eye. Taking the flat definer into that same shade, just pulling it through the inner part of the lower lash line. Now I'm going to go back into that first shade that I used on the soft shader and pull that through the rest of the lower lash line. And then going into this one right here, which is sort of a more cool toned taupey brown, and just pulling it through the outer corner here. And then I'm also going to pull it along the upper lash line and through the outer corner. Now I'm just going to grab this sort of light beige shade and just do the brow bone with that. Okay, I'm really impressed with this palette. I think the colors are beautiful for a really nice neutral look, and they blended like an absolute dream. So that's a really nice little palette. I'm gonna finish up the eyes with my Cocoa on the waterline and some mascara, and then I'll be right back to finish up my lips and just round up my thoughts on all the brushes and everything I've used today. Eyes are all finished. I just did a single coat of mascara on both the top and lower lashes. And now I'm going to put on my Spirited Away lipstick. I already had a little bit of the Victoria Beckham 01 lip liner on, just around the edges. And here's the completed look. All right, so first the brushes. I'm really happy with these brushes. I think each one has a distinct purpose for me, and I can see myself using all of them. Perhaps I would only choose one concealer brush, and if I were to just choose one, I would choose the soft concealer brush. Just more to my preference for blending out concealer, but I think that this one works well too. And this could even be used for cream highlights. Like I could see myself using this with my Salt highlights. It could work really well for that. But if I were to just choose one concealer brush, it would be the soft concealer. The three face brushes, I love all of them. I'm really curious to try this one, which is the classic base for foundation. I think this could work really well for foundation, but I haven't tried that yet. But I did think that the jumbo base was excellent for foundation. It made really quick work of blending it out. It didn't leave any sort of streakiness or anything like that. And it is shaped in such a way that allows you to get into those harder to get to places really easily, in a way that you might not expect to with a brush that's this size. So I really like that. And then I already knew that I liked the mini base because I have another version of it, but I'm now super happy to have two of them, because probably what I'll be able to do is just use one for highlight and one for blush, rather than having to wipe it off in between using highlighter and blush. So that's great as well. Perfect for, as you saw today, dabbing out a liquid highlighter and a liquid blush. I think you could also use it for contour. It's a really nice size to get a more precise contour line. And then the classic base was perfect for my contour and bronzer today. And I think it could also work really well for cream and liquid blushes too. So I'm very happy with this new Sonia G Fusion set. And I'm really happy that she's selling the brushes individually as well. I think some of the individuals are sold out now, but if you were to just buy one, I think it depends on what you want. If you want just one base brush, get this one, which is the classic base, because this can do everything for you. You can do foundation as well as cream, bronzers, blushes, highlighters. If you were to get one concealer, as I said, the soft concealer would be my choice, just because I find it a little bit more versatile because it can blend out cream shadows pretty easily on the eyes too. They're all super soft and felt really, really comfortable to use, and I'm really happy to have them to use with all of my many cream and liquid face products. And then just for my thoughts on this little Surratt quad, I love this. It gave a really nice soft look. The formula on these is just really gorgeous. It's so lightweight and blendable, but it has a good amount of pigment, but not too much. And I think it's just a really stunning little quad. I'm gonna do swatches here so we can just see what the shades look like swatched. But I think this is one of those things that doesn't really swatch that great, but it goes on the eyes really well. But there, at least you can see what the tones are swatched. These two barely show up when they're swatched, but they have a really beautiful effect on the eyes. So I think that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. I'd love to see those below. And if you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would love for you to do so. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.